to Math 3410. I'm going to walk you through what's expected. So this is the modules page, and each week you're expected to complete what's in the module. So for week 1, you just have a syllabus quiz and a statistical and computational tools. When you click on the statistical and computational tools, it's going to link you to your textbook, which is a Xi book. So let's load it in. So it will take you to what's expected, and this is an interactive textbook. It starts off talking about using Python and Jupyter notebooks, which is expected for this course, and in part because you're going to be asked to analyze data. That is really the main reasons, because every data set lives on your computer in a data set, and you're going to be asked to analyze it. So you need to know how to do that. And for us, Python is going to be the answer. Okay. So you're going to be asked questions and asked to produce graphs and to get a little bit familiar with Python and some of its functionality for statistics and data science. Okay. You'll keep going with this, and it will list all the sections, and you just keep going until you're at the end of the required readings and exercises for the textbook. So that's for week 1. For week 2, you'll have some slides on collecting data. You'll also have a Xi book reading on data exploration and collection, which is given here, and you'll be graded on completing your textbook because it's an interactive textbook. So you can load that Xi book in here. If we go back, you'll see that there are 2 quizzes this week on data collection, and the other one's on how graphs relate to probability and to thinking about relatedness between variables. So that's called hypothesis, if one variable affects the other. In week 3, you'll have a quiz on counting and probability. Then you'll have a Xi book reading on probability. Let's open this up. Week 4, it continues. Then eventually you'll hit your first exam. Okay, and there's exam 1, and the general outline of the course follows in this way. Okay, so you're just expected to complete what is in each week's module. And in this course, you're going to have a project, and we'll go over that in a little bit once we talk about the syllabus. So just to get a little bit better idea, in this week 3, you have a probability quiz, and you have a Xi book reading. The Xi book reading is going to look like this. Okay, so you'll have you'll read about probability in your textbook. You'll have some interactive activities, and it will keep going in this way. Okay, so okay, so let's go to the syllabus. So in terms of the syllabus, I'm going to set up office hours after the first week, but as this is an online class, I expect most of the communication is probably going to come in email. So there is a template, and this is just a little bit that just says that your textbook is a Xi book. Okay, and for questions and correspondence, There's a few things I'd expect. I want you to know sometimes when I get busy with a lot of emails, it can take up to 2 days, sometimes longer, but generally 1 to 2 days for an email response. So keep that in mind. I try and have a life, so typically I will not be answering emails on the weekend. I will be doing things and not checking my email, and I have other obligations on the weekend. Okay. So when you email me, it's really, really important that you just take a screenshot of what you're having trouble with or what you're trying to solve, that you put the class name in the subject line, state your name somewhere, your W number somewhere, and it does say what you tried as a possible solution. If you can just describe your issue that you're having in the screenshot, and it doesn't have to be that detailed of a solution. If you can just say I was having trouble with this, or describe it generally, it doesn't have to be a written detailed solution. It can be kind of short. Okay, so what you tried as a possible solution is can be a very short description, but put there what you think will help me assist you in solving the problem. Okay. In terms of the course coverage, we're going to cover these materials. In terms of the prerequisite, it's this. Okay. In terms of how your grade's calculated, is going to be 20% in the weekly quizzes, and the weekly quizzes are going to be these things. So the syllabus quiz, the data collection quiz, the graph and probability quiz, the counting and probability. Your Xi books is also 20%, so it's interactive and online. So that's just you reading your textbook. So when it asks you to do the statistical and computational tools, did you complete everything, all the activities? Did you read the book? That's 20% of your grade. Your project, which we'll discuss in a little bit, is 10%. Your two exams are 15%, and your final exam is 20%. Okay, so notice your final exam is worth the same as just reading your textbook and completing the activities in your textbook. It's worth the same as taking the quizzes. Okay. Generally, these weekly quizzes, generally you're allowed two attempts, and it records your average grade. Okay. Your exams are all going to be held online through Proctorio. Okay. There's going to be a review for each exam, but no review provided for the final. Okay. One other thing about exams is I intend to also make them available through the testing center. So long as I can do that, you'll have that option. Okay. Okay. Now, in terms of your homework, I understand that you all have lives and that sometimes you can't complete it on time. And in that case, you should still complete it. And to give you this incentive, I take the late work, but the sooner you complete it, the better, because there's a 5% per day late penalty. Okay. Okay. In terms of how your grades are calculated, it's all here. Then you're just going to need to have the proper computer and internet connection to complete this course. Okay, so let's talk about one more thing. So there's going to be some checkpoints for your quiz, and your first checkpoint is on your first exam is this project checkpoint 1. Well, let's just look at the, and then there's a project checkpoint 2 at exam 2. Let's just look at the final project submission. Okay. So here for this project, you're going to be asked to analyze some data. You get to choose your data set, and that's part of what checkpoint 1 is that you have to choose your very first data set. You're going to use your skills in Python to visualize your data and summarize it and state what the purpose of your project is. So that's roughly what project checkpoint 1 is. Okay, you're going to write a 1 to 2 page technical paper, and I'm actually not going to take a Python notebook anymore. I want it to be professionally written, so I want it to be in a PDF or Word document. And I want it to be in your own words, but you can use AI to help you to generate the code. I just want your analysis and conclusions and presentation of your analysis to be in your own words. Okay, but you're more than welcome to use the AI assistant help you code and analyze the data. Okay, so what should go into this paper is going to be an introduction on why it's interesting. You're going to have data visualizations. You're going to talk about your statistical methods. Then you're going to have discussion and conclusion. Okay, now you don't have to use Python. For some of your projects, you can use Excel. For others, if you prefer R, you can use R. Generally, the types of data that you're going to need to use, or most people choose a data set off of Kaggle, and that's what I'd encourage. Okay. I'm going to expand and maybe list 1 or 2 types of projects that you could consider, but your types of your analysis depend on your data types, and you'll learn about the data types in your course. You want to make sure that your statistical analysis is appropriate and within the scope of this class, and that's part of what this very first checkpoint is about. Okay. Okay. So I did update this. So just in terms of the type of statistical method, you really want to be careful about this. You want, so if, for example, your input is a category and your output is a category, you want to use Fisher's exact test. Some people use the chi-square test, but we only technically cover the Fisher's exact test. Okay. So if your input is numerical and your output's numerical, you want to use a multiple linear regression. And there are some caveats to this, which is why there's a checkpoint. You want to make sure you're not dealing with time-dependent data when you do this. Okay. If, for example, your input's numerical but your output is binary, then you want to use a logistic regression or a naive Bayes. Okay. Okay. So that's a rough outline of your project. You can read this over in more detail, and you'll be asked to use this in your checkpoints. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention is when you take a quiz, okay, and I'll view this as a student. So here's the syllabus quiz. Here you have 2 attempts. It doesn't tell you this, but it's going to be average generally. Okay. There is no time limit, and so for this first one, the syllabus quiz, it asks you what's your textbook, and it asks you to select all that apply. So if you answered your textbook as a Xi book, but then you also decided that your textbook was an Introduction to Probabilistic Statistics by Milton and Arnold, let's see what happens. Okay. Now it asks if you have questions that include the following information. You should send an email to this account. You know, if you were to say, answer this, and this, and this, let's see what happens. Okay, and if you were to answer those two, let's see what happens. Okay. So, and actually, let's select this, and I'm going to deselect that. Okay, I'm going to submit. Okay, and I'm going to submit this anyway. Okay, so I want to point this out to you because this will be on your exams and on your weekly quizzes. So here, I got 0 points, but you got this question right. Well, the reason why you got 0 points is because you selected an incorrect response. So the incorrect response are worth negative points. So you need to be careful when you're taking your quizzes or your homework or your exams to make sure you read the question carefully. Okay. In this one it says I got 2.5 points, and here I answered 2 questions correctly, okay, but I didn't mark all the correct answers here, okay. So for this one I only got half the credit because there was more to consider, okay. Here I got no points, okay. Now in this one I got 1.6 points even though I marked 2 questions correctly, because I selected a wrong answer, so it was worth negative points. Okay, so it canceled out some of my positive points. So you need to be careful, you know, if it's select one or select all, but especially on the select all. Okay. Okay. So just going back, you know, what you're expected to do is contained within each week's module, and you'll need to set up your zyBooks account so that you can access your textbook. In your first week, you're expected just to take the syllabus quiz and then complete this zyBook reading and activities. Okay, thank you very much.